My brother Ryan stood on the balcony of his luxury mansion, laughing with his wealthy friends. He was celebrating his business expansion, completely unaware that I was parked outside in the dark. In my hands, I held a court-certified foreclosure warrant for his entire property. 2 weeks ago, he thought he could destroy my life by forging my signature. Now I was about to strip him of everything he owned. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to my construction business, Summit Group. I built the company from nothing, working 80 hours a week and saving every penny. My younger brother Ryan was the complete opposite. He ran a failing marketing agency and spent his time trying to look like a millionaire on social media. My parents always enabled him, demanding that I support his ridiculous lifestyle. Ryan constantly begged me to invest in his wild business ideas. He wanted to build luxury offices and rent yachts, but he had zero financial discipline. When I reviewed his books, I realized his agency was deeply in debt. I told him a flat no, explaining that I would not throw my hard-earned money into a sinking ship. He became absolutely furious, claiming that I was selfish and did not care about family. I thought my refusal was the end of it, but my greedy brother was already planning a highly illegal backup plan. He had found a corrupt private loan broker who was willing to overlook basic security checks for a fee. Ryan needed a massive $300,000 business loan to keep his failing agency afloat, but his credit score was completely ruined. He needed a wealthy, stable guarantor. Everything exploded on a rainy Monday morning when my corporate bank account was suddenly frozen. I called my business manager at the bank, demanding an explanation. He told me that a local collection agency had placed a legal lien on my accounts due to a default on a $300,000 commercial loan. My heart stopped. I had never taken out any loan, let alone defaulted on one. I rushed to the bank's main office to review the paperwork. When the manager handed me the files, I stared in absolute disbelief. The documents contained my corporate tax ID, my personal social security number, and a very clumsy forgery of my signature. Even worse, the loan was secured against my own construction company's assets. Ryan had literally offered up my entire life's work as a guarantee. I drove straight to Ryan's office, my grip tight on the steering wheel as fury washed over me. When I walked in, I found him showing off a new designer watch to his employees. I threw the forged loan documents onto his desk and demanded an explanation. The room went silent. Ryan tried to laugh it off, saying, "Calm down, Max. I was going to pay it back before you noticed. It's just a temporary cash flow issue." I told him that this was federal fraud and that I was going straight to the police. At that moment, my phone rang. It was my mother crying hysterically. She said, "Max, please don't do this to your younger brother. If you report him, his career is over and he will go to jail. He's your blood, you have to help him. You are wealthy enough to cover this debt. Just pay it off for our sake." My father joined the call, telling me to stop being selfish. He said, "Ryan made a mistake, but we are a family. You cannot put your own brother in prison over a financial matter. You have a successful business. You can easily absorb this loss." I looked at Ryan's smug, entitled face and realized that any sense of family loyalty died the moment they chose to sacrifice my hard work for his greed. I went to the police station anyway, but the detective explained that proving corporate identity theft and signature forgery in court would take months, if not years, of slow legal battles. Meanwhile, the high-interest loan was accumulating massive penalties, and my company's accounts would remain frozen, destroying my business. I walked back to my car, realizing I needed to change my strategy completely. I sat in my office and remembered the code. Do not cry. Do not argue. Just win. I was a senior construction auditor before starting my company. I knew exactly how banks handled bad debt. When a commercial loan defaults, the bank doesn't want to spend years in court. They package the toxic debt and sell it to third-party collection agencies at a massive discount just to get it off their books. I called my real estate attorney and instructed him to contact the bank's toxic asset department. We kept my name completely hidden, using a newly registered holding company to make an anonymous offer. We told the bank that we were willing to purchase Ryan's defaulted $300,000 loan pack immediately for cash. The bank, eager to cut their losses, agreed to negotiate. Because the loan was considered highly toxic and likely to fail, my attorney managed to purchase the entire debt package for just $120,000 in cash. I signed the final paperwork, and the transfer was complete. I was no longer the victim of Ryan's fraudulent loan. I was now the official legal owner of his debt. I was my younger brother's primary, ruthless creditor. The first thing I did as his new creditor was to legally unfreeze my own construction company's accounts. Since I owned the debt, I officially released my business assets from the loan guarantee. My company was safe. Next, I instructed my attorney to draft a formal immediate demand for full payment of the $300,000 plus all accumulated interest and late fees. I had my attorney deliver the legal demand directly to Ryan's house. When Ryan received the letter, he called me, laughing hysterically. He said, "What is this joke, Max? Some random holding company bought my loan and is demanding payment. I don't have to pay them anything, and there's nothing you can do about it." He had absolutely no idea that I was the sole owner of that holding company. I kept my voice completely flat and replied, "You should read the fine print of that loan agreement, Ryan. The debt is secured against your personal property, including your luxury mansion. If you do not pay the full amount within 10 days, the creditor has the legal right to initiate immediate foreclosure." Ryan stopped laughing, but he still didn't believe that he was in real danger. The 10-day deadline passed and Ryan didn't pay a single cent. He actually spent the weekend partying in Las Vegas, posting photos of his expensive lifestyle on social media. My attorney immediately filed a motion for an expedited foreclosure warrant in the local land court. Since the loan agreement was signed, notarized, and defaulted, the judge granted the foreclosure order within 48 hours. My mother called me again, screaming insults at the top of her lungs. She yelled, "You heartless monster! Ryan just received an eviction notice from some corrupt holding company. They are going to take his house. You have to lend him the money to stop this. How can you be so cruel to your own family?" I replied calmly, "He should have thought about his house before he tried to steal my company." The next morning, I arrived at Ryan's mansion with 2 city marshals and a team of professional locksmiths. Ryan was still in his silk bathrobe, holding a cup of coffee, when the marshals knocked on his front door and presented the official eviction warrant. His face turned completely pale, and he dropped his coffee cup. It shattered on the marble floor, the dark liquid spreading rapidly. "What is this? You can't do this!" Ryan screamed, pointing at the marshals. The lead marshal calmly replied, "Sir, this property has been legally seized by the creditor due to non-payment of your commercial loan. You have exactly 1 hour to pack your personal belongings and vacate the premises." Ryan started sweating hysterically, realized he was completely trapped in his own web of lies. Ryan grabbed his phone and tried to call my parents, but they couldn't do anything to stop a federal court order. He looked at me, standing behind the marshals, and realized the truth. He whispered, "It was you. You bought the loan." I looked at him with a cold, indifferent expression and said, "Your time is up, Ryan. Pack your bags and get out of my property." The locksmiths began changing the locks. He was led out of his mansion in front of his wealthy neighbors, carrying 2 cardboard boxes filled with his designer clothes. He had to stand on the sidewalk, watching the locksmiths install heavy-duty security bars on his windows. He looked completely broken, his fake millionaire lifestyle shattered in a single hour. I took possession of the keys to the beautiful $3 million house. My father called me, his voice shaking with pure rage. He said, "You have crossed the line, Max. You evicted your own brother. We are disowning you from this family forever. You are no longer our son." I replied, "You disowned me the moment you defended his theft. I don't need a family built on lies and betrayal. Do not ever contact me again." I hung up and blocked his number. I immediately listed Ryan's seized mansion for sale on the luxury real estate market. Because the property was in a prime location, I received multiple cash offers within a week. I sold the house for $2.8 million. After paying off the bank and covering all legal fees, I walked away with a massive net profit of over $2 million. My brother's betrayal made me a millionaire. But Ryan was not done trying to destroy himself. Instead of accepting his defeat, he decided to take a dangerous and desperate step. He had gotten into heavy debt with a local underground gambling syndicate led by a ruthless criminal named Vincent. Vincent realized that Ryan was now homeless and broke, so he decided that as the wealthy older brother, I was now responsible for the debt. One evening, as I was leaving my corporate office late at night, 2 heavily built men blocked my path in the parking lot. One of them pulled out a heavy metal pipe and tapped it against my car's window. He sneered, "Your brother Ryan owes our boss $50,000, Max. We know where you live, and we know where your father lives. You are going to pay us back or things will get very ugly." I remained completely calm, looking them straight in the eyes. I pointed to the small, blinking blue LED light on my car's windshield. I said, "You are standing in front of a customized security vehicle. My front and rear dash cams are streaming this conversation in 4K resolution to a secure cloud server, and the police have already been notified. I suggest you walk away now." The men looked at the camera, their expressions turning from arrogant to terrified. The leader cursed under his breath and kicked my tire before they ran back to their vehicle and sped out of the parking garage. I didn't wait for them to make another move. I immediately drove to the police station and handed the high-definition footage of the threat directly to the local detectives. I knew that the police would move too slowly to protect my construction assets from a desperate criminal syndicate. I decided to use my forensic auditing skills to go on the offensive. I wanted to completely dismantle Vincent's illegal gambling ring from the inside out, making sure they could never threaten me again. I locked myself in my office and began tracing their financial footprint. Using the license plate and the name Vincent that the private investigator had uncovered, I located the shell companies they used to launder their illegal gambling profits. I found a local car wash and a bar that were generating millions of dollars in untraceable cash. I ran a deep digital audit on their financial records, uncovering a massive tax evasion and money laundering operation. I compiled a massive, detailed folder containing all of Vincent's secret bank accounts, transaction logs, and the names of his corrupt associates. I bypassed the local police, who were often slow and easily bribed, and sent the entire file directly to the IRS Criminal Investigation Division and the Federal Task Force. The federal agents were thrilled, as Vincent was already on their radar. While the federal agents were quietly building their case, Vincent decided to make a desperate move. He sent 3 of his men to my father's new apartment late at night to intimidate him. They started kicking the door and screaming threats, trying to force him to call me and demand the money. They had no idea that I had installed a high-tech smart security system in his apartment just 2 days prior. I watched the entire confrontation live from my phone's security application. I instantly activated the high-decibel outdoor siren on the building and used the two-way audio to announce that the SWAT team was already on their way. Simultaneously, my system automatically called the dispatch center, streaming the live video. The criminals panicked and fled, but the police intercepted their car 3 blocks away. With the criminals in custody, the federal authorities moved in. The IRS executed a massive raid on Vincent's car wash and bar, seizing all of his computers, ledgers, and freezing his bank accounts. The evidence of tax evasion and money laundering I provided was so overwhelming that the judge denied Vincent bail immediately. His entire illegal empire was completely crushed, and he was locked away. The news of Vincent's arrest sent shockwaves through the local underworld, and the harassment against my father and me stopped instantly. We were finally safe. I focused my attention on finalizing the liquidation of my mother's assets. Through a court-ordered auction, my parents' suburban house was sold. I used the proceeds to fully reimburse my stolen savings and bought my father a beautiful new condo. My father wept with gratitude when I handed him the keys to his new home. For the first time in his life, he was completely free from my mother's toxic financial manipulation and Ryan's endless, greedy demands. We sat on his balcony, enjoying the quiet evening, completely ignoring the ghost of the family that tried to destroy us. He looked at me with deep pride, thanking me for saving his life. Meanwhile, the extended family members who had called me a monster were now facing their own financial karma. Several of them had invested heavily in Uncle Marcus's corrupt construction company, which had recently gone bankrupt following my previous legal battle against him. They were now broke and facing their own lawsuits. They tried to call me for financial help, but I blocked their numbers instantly. I became a taboo subject at their family gatherings, a terrifying figure they were too afraid to mention. They finally understood that I am not a quiet, naive tech guy they can exploit, but a dangerous, calculated force that will use the full power of technology and the law to utterly crush anyone who threatens me. I had completely purged my life of every single toxic parasite, and it felt amazing. One day I received a letter from the federal prison where my mother was serving her 5-year sentence. It was a long, handwritten letter filled with desperate apologies, claims of how hard her life in prison was, and begging me to visit her just once before she died. I held the letter over my trash can, set it on fire with my lighter, and watched it burn until it was nothing but cold, gray ash. I received a similar letter from Ryan, who was struggling to survive in a maximum security prison. He complained about the food, the violence, and how much he regretted everything he had done. He begged me to send him money for his commissary account. I folded the letter, ran it through my heavy-duty paper shredder, and threw it in the recycling bin. I owed him absolutely nothing, not even my attention. My mother and Ryan had spent years believing that their greed and manipulation were a superpower, and that my love and loyalty made me weak. They believed that because I was quiet, I would always tolerate their betrayal. They had to learn the hard way that when a quiet person finally snaps, they don't scream, they don't argue. They simply dismantle your entire life with terrifying, quiet precision. I used the remaining funds from the asset liquidation to establish a generous college scholarship fund for young students from single-parent homes who wanted to study IT security and forensics. I wanted to turn the pain of my betrayal into a powerful force for good, helping others build the same tools of protection and justice that had saved my own life. It was the perfect ending to a dark chapter. Now, the silence in my life is truly beautiful. The toxic family members who tried to bleed me dry are all sitting behind bars or living in poverty, facing the real consequences of their own actions. I protected my life, my father's future, and my hard-earned savings. If you ever find yourself facing a toxic family that takes your kindness for weakness, remember this: do not cry, do not argue, just win. Weeks turned into months, and my career continued to skyrocket. I was promoted to partner at my forensic accounting firm, earning a salary that my family could only dream of. I used my resources to invest in legitimate real estate, building a portfolio of properties that generated secure, passive income. I built a life based on absolute integrity, far away from the dark shadows of my family's endless lies. My father joined a local photography club, rediscovering a passion he had abandoned decades ago because my mother deemed it a waste of money. He looked healthier, happier, and younger than he had in 30 years. We spent our weekends traveling, exploring new cities, and building a bond that was completely untainted by toxic guilt. He was finally living the peaceful life he always deserved. I looked at the beautiful view from my new penthouse apartment, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. The concrete cell where I once felt trapped by my family's expectations had vanished. I had used my mind, the law, and my skills to dismantle the structure of their abuse. I realized that the greatest revenge wasn't just sending them to prison, but living a life of absolute freedom and joy. If my story teaches you anything, let it be this: your loyalty is a precious gift, and those who abuse it do not deserve your presence. Do not let family ties blind you to the crime of systematic emotional and financial theft. When the people you love prove that they only value your wallet, close it, walk away, and build your own empire. Let them face the silence of their own choices. But before the story was truly finished, there was one final detail I had to handle. Ryan had left some of his company's digital servers running on my corporate hosting network. These servers contained the proprietary marketing data of his former high-paying clients. Instead of deleting them, I absorbed them into my construction firm's new marketing department, converting his entire former network into my asset. Ryan's former top clients quickly realized that he was out of business, and they contacted me directly, desperate to keep their campaigns running. I hired his former lead developers and offered them a stable, honest salary. Within 2 months, I had turned his failed marketing agency into a highly profitable digital division of my own firm, completely erasing his legacy from the industry. My extended relatives tried to organize a public boycott of my construction company, claiming that I was a criminal who stole his brother's assets. They posted fake reviews online and called my business partners, but my IT security team was ready. We logged every IP address and traced the fake accounts directly back to my uncle's home. We filed a $1 million defamation lawsuit against him. When the sheriff's deputies served my uncle with the lawsuit, he completely panicked. He realized that a legal battle with a millionaire IT specialist would bankrupt him within a month. He publicly apologized on social media, deleted all the fake reviews, and begged me to drop the suit. I agreed, but only after he signed a legally binding non-disclosure agreement, silencing the entire family forever. I had finally achieved total and complete peace. There were no more threatening text messages, no more manipulative phone calls, and no more toxic drama. My father and I were the only surviving members of a family that had once been built on lies, greed, and favoritism. We had built a new foundation based on absolute respect and mutual support, completely free from the poison of the past. I looked at the beautiful sunset over the city from my office window, feeling a profound sense of satisfaction. I had not let their betrayal destroy me. Instead, I had used their greed as a stepping stone to build an even greater empire. I had proven that a quiet, calculated mind will always defeat a loud, emotional opponent, no matter how many allies they have on their side. The lessons I learned during this brutal battle will stay with me forever. I learned that family is not defined by blood, but by actions, loyalty, and respect. I learned that when someone tries to steal your hard work, you do not waste time arguing or seeking emotional validation. You simply study the rules of the system, find the leverage points, and execute your plan with absolute precision. So, if you are currently facing a toxic family that takes your silence for weakness and tries to bleed you dry, do not lose hope. Do not let them drag you down into their emotional drama, and do not waste your tears on those who do not value your presence. Close your wallet, build your system, find your leverage, and let the cold silence of your victory speak for itself.